It is Monday, and you guys already know what that means. Look, there ain't no sports on tonight. If you like the home run derby, go, have fun with it, but there ain't no sports on. There ain't no baseball. Football training camp is still about another week away, and hockey and basketball are donezo until the freaking fall. So why don't you come spend your Monday talking about that stuff with us? So do us a favor, kick back, relax, because episode number 54 of 609 Sports Talk starts right now. And welcome in, everybody, back to 609 Sports Talk, live here on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, if you guys can't catch the episodes live, they are always dropping Wednesdays on Spotify. And of course, you guys know this is the show that unites fans, ignites debate, mostly ignites debates if George and Dustin are both in the same comments or show together. But either way, we are your hosts, Sam Nelson, Tyler Adams, and of course, we are joined once again by Dustin Reese of Chicago Sports HQ. Dustin, how are you, brother?
I need to correct you. There is baseball that's going on right now. It's called the minor leagues. They don't get the All-Star break this week. They're still playing.
Ooh. I'm sorry. Major League Baseball took the only minor league team within my vicinity when they took the Yankees AA affiliate out of Trent, okay? I forget those things. And we had the MLB draft over the past couple days, too. So that's another thing to look forward to. The Phillies had like 20 draft picks, and they took like 18 pitchers.
Nice. So you're still not going to have a closer.
Actually, the kid they took in the first round from Arkansas, they said if they desperately could, he could be in the bullpen by October.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Something else the Phillies have also done differently in this one so far is they went to the college ranks. The Phillies usually like to draft high school prospects, which I get sometimes, but when you're like your main focal point is that, I feel like I'm waiting like 10 years to see these kids, where now I actually may see a 21-year-old play for the Philadelphia Phillies. But who knows, right? I don't know, because guess what? I guarantee you at least 3 of those college kids are already better than Jordan Romano, which, by the way, any teams in Major League Baseball, if you're looking for a back-end closer who can get the job done, Jordan Romano's your guy. Come call. We will answer the phone. We will gladly give him up for absolutely nothing. Maybe the Blue Jays want him back. I don't know. Maybe ship him to the Braves. Ship him somewhere. Just get him off my team. I hate my hatred for Jordan Romano is like, it's like Tyler with JJ Arcega-Whiteside. That's what it is.
Oh God!
It's pure chaos.
An accurate comparison, Sam.
My bullpen is pure chaos, okay? But anyway, so look, we got some things to talk about. We have a little bit of everything, and of course, you know, we could dive in all over the place with this show. We got a little baseball. We're going to do some mid-season power rankings. Tyler, if you'd like to go with the famous line before we even continue the rest of the show, go right ahead.
Well, I already see we got our Eagles fans in the chat rolling in, so victory Monday again. It's going to keep rolling through until the season starts.
I can confirm this week my chat is working. We don't need to pin the chat this week.
Nice.
But Tyler, are you really not going to go with your famous line?
What's that? Didn't I just say it?
No, I said power rankings.
Oh, power rankings. Oh, God. I think that's a word that I just filter out of my head now, because every time I hear you talk about power rankings, they always suck.
Thank you. It's again, right over your head. Right over your head. I've given you 2 opportunistic jokes in the past 2 weeks, and they've gone right over your head. Kind of like how the NBA Finals trophy went right over Jimmy Butler's head in Miami twice. But anyway.
Man, at least he got to see it in person.
Yeah, guys. I'm surprised Jimmy Butler can still play the level of basketball he can after those 2 finals. Like, that's the definition of carrying a team to the final.
Yeah.
But anyway, as we've already gone completely off the rails, we'll do some MLB power rankings at the end of the show. We'll talk a little bit of NBA. There's a couple little things going around. Head conversation tonight. We're finally concluding our NFL off-season fallouts for each division. And we saved, in my opinion, the best for last. And that is the NFC North. Now, we know there's a lot of movement in this division. The Lions are still going to be really good. The Bears got Ben Johnson. They just gave Poles an extension. It seems like they've signed about 15 different offensive linemen. So they're looking to improve. The Packers, they were in the playoffs last year. They're still a very solid group. And, of course, we have the question marks surrounding J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings, who chose not to re-sign Sam Darnold and chose smartly to not go after Aaron Rodgers. Thank God. Gentlemen, I'm going to let you two start off. I'm going to ask the question. Is the NFC North got the potential to have all four teams over 500?
So you might cut out a little bit.
Where?
I think what you were saying was, do all four NFC North teams have the potential to go over 500?
You got it. So it wasn't that bad. Okay.
It was good enough. Dustin, if you want to kick this off, I mean, you have a lot of ties there to the NFC North.
Not only do I think all four teams are going to finish above 500, but I think all four teams get in the playoffs.
Ooh.
I think this is one division where first place is going to be 11-6, and teams 2, 3, 4 are all going to be 10-7. They're all going to beat each other up during the regular season. They're all going to win the games they should win, and they're going to lose games that they most likely should lose. But on paper, obviously the games aren't played on paper, but on paper, you can make the case that these are 4 of the top 7 most complete rosters in the NFL, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you got a valid point. A lot of these divisions we've been going through, there's always them teams that are just like, we know we're not expecting much from them. 5 wins, 4 wins, whatever. But this division definitely, it's got a lot of promise. I am shocked that Dustin didn't have a 12-win team in that division. But
because all these teams are going to be beating up on each other.
I think so. Let's talk about the team, like you said, with the question mark next to them. I think each team is pretty set and solid. The Bears, they hope they know what they got now with Ben Johnson and year 2 of Caleb Williams. The Lions just had heartbreak last playoffs. They're looking to be back in that talk again. The Packers, also in the playoffs. We know what happened to them. Don't need to knock them down too much. All those teams are still established enough. The one team that had an opportunity last year blew that opportunity with Sam Darnold playing well for them toward the end of the season. Now they're going with a second-year young quarterback. Technically, it's his rookie season. He didn't play at all last year. So technically, you got you have a second-year rookie. So that's what you're putting your trust in as Minnesota Vikings. So it can either go really good and hope for maybe like a Washington Commanders type season from last year, or it can go really bad and maybe they have a more mediocre Houston Texans season. I don't think they'll be a bad team, but I see them at the low end being maybe like a 8-win team.
The Vikings at the low point as an 8-win team is kind of hilarious.
I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned in the last 3 years, now going on 4 years, never underestimate Kevin O'Connell when it comes to a quarterback. Kevin O'Connell set Kirk Cousins up to have the 2 best years of his career. Sam Darnold had the best year of his career under Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings traded for Josh Dobbs, who had a 5-year run that ultimately earned him a massive payday in the offseason. J.J. McCarthy doesn't have to be Sam Darnold. J.J. McCarthy just has to be J.J. McCarthy, and when you look at his surrounding cast, he's got the best receiver in the NFL. He's got Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones in the backfield. He's got a revamped offensive line to protect him. He's got a defense that is relentless with Brian Flores' pressure, and they added to that defense by getting Jonathan Allen from the Commanders on one end. They got Landon Hargrave from the 49ers to go in the middle with Harrison Smith. Plus, they have all those linebackers, and they re-signed Andrew Van Ginkel. There's not too many pieces on the Vikings that you can be like, this is a weakness, this is a weakness, this is a weakness right now.
No, I completely agree. And I like what you said about J.J. McCarthy. He doesn't have to come in and be all these quarterbacks that have had success with Kevin O'Connell. Because, first off, again, he has all the weapons around him. Another thing that I always said about J.J. McCarthy, especially when he came out in his draft, the one thing I always said about him, he played with Jim Harbaugh. He was coached by Jim Harbaugh, who ran the most throw-ready system in college football. So he knows what this is going to take. He has been in a team that basically leans on the run first, but he can make the throws. I don't understand. Like, I get it. Is he like the flashiest quarterback prospect to come out? No. But he, in my opinion, he was more pro-ready than what a lot of people were giving him credit for last year. Unfortunately, we just didn't get to see it because he got hurt. Now, again, they lucked out. Sam Darnold looked like freaking Brett Favre for 15 weeks. Then the playoffs came, and the final week of the regular season, and the offensive line completely went into shambles. And we know when that happens is that Sam Darnold tends to see ghosts. So, but the Vikings still have easily one of the best rosters in the NFL. Like you said, he has the best they have the best wide receiver in the game, give or take. You know, some people will say Chase, some people will say Jefferson. It's a conversation for another day. I'm sure that conversation is going to come up here later on in the summer. But their run game, with Mason coming in to help out with Aaron Jones, it's not just Aaron Jones now, which if you're going with Aaron Jones and not much behind him, you're going to have a couple weeks where he's not going to be available. It's just that simple. So I enjoyed that trade with San Francisco to get him. I don't like San Francisco getting rid of him because of the guy that they have. And I think depth behind him is very important. I don't care. You could say all you want about how good Shanahan is. If Shanahan with running backs is like O'Connell with quarterbacks. They're going to find somebody, and someone's going to be productive. So, but I think it's just a question now is, like, again, about J.J. McCarthy. Is he a good NFL quarterback? And it's just we won't know until about 4 to 5 weeks into the season because we haven't seen him play much NFL football yet except for that one preseason game. So, and they were very committed to it early on in the offseason, saying this is how it's going to be. They were never really involved with Aaron Rodgers. Again, thank heavens, because no well-run organization deserves Aaron Rodgers to be in their building. Like teams like the Steelers, they deserve that. Teams like the Giants, they would deserve that. I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers in Jerryland once, but that'll never happen. It's very unlikely that the owner of a team actually plays for the team, but still. But yeah, it's Minnesota's success all is though on the shoulders of McCarthy. It's up to him. It's all on him because of the question mark that he is. Even though I don't think he's much of a question mark, but if you're looking at the other three teams, I mean, we know what Jared Goff is in Detroit. I think he's a little bit more of a question mark now that Ben Johnson is no longer there. And we'll get into that in a second. I think I know what Jordan Love is, quite frankly. After that playoff game, I may not know what Jordan Love is.
I think that's actually the biggest question in the division.
Ooh.
Because if you saw I forgot the guy's name, but he's been releasing his top 10 player rankings for like each position.
Okay.
Jordan Love is not listed as a top 10 quarterback. And Jordan Love is getting paid $10 top 10 quarterback money. Jordan Love, if you look at his first 2 years as a starter, he has had 8 good games. And it was the 8 games of the second half of the 2023 season when he played like an MVP. He was not good last year. He was not good the first 8 games of 2023. He is the biggest question mark in the division because the Packers have basically mortgaged their future on a guy that had 8 good games in 2 years. And the Packers still don't have a number 1 wide receiver. If you're getting a quarterback at $50 million a year that has played 8 good games out of a possible 32, and you don't have a number 1 wide receiver, he is the biggest question mark because can he carry a team without true number 1 options?
Yeah, I think that's the big talking point of the Packers because, yes, Jordan Love had a bad year last year. He did start off the season rough. He was banged up. He went through, was it the shoulder injury?
Groin.
The groin injury. And then didn't the groin injury become another injury toward the middle of the season?
He sprained his MCL, but he only missed 1 week. That one was as bad as the groin.
But yeah, he had a down year with his health. Hopefully he's able to get back healthy. Maybe that's his excuse for his poor performance because, like you said, he got paid off of his second half performance in 2023. He was coming up on the contract, and the Packers were like, all right, here's our next Aaron Rodgers. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at this, like you guys said, he's only like Dustin said, he's only had a handful of really good games in the NFL. But this is now what the NFL is. If you show these guys something within the first year or 2 year playing, and they think that they found their guy, which is what it's labeled as now in the NFL. But I mean, the playoff, I'm not even basing it off of, we're talking about the 8 games in 2023. I'll just base off that playoff game last year. And I think, don't get me wrong, Philadelphia last year, as Eagles fans, the Eagles have the best defense in football. It's not easy. It's not hard to figure that out now. And if you're still having a hard time figuring it out, then hit a time capsule, come back to me, and we'll talk. But
put it this way: the 8-game stretch that everyone is banking on, he had 23 touchdowns and 2 interceptions over those 8 games. The rest of his NFL career, he has 31 touchdowns and 23 interceptions.
Yeah,
over 24 games. That is a mediocre quarterback at best.
Well, I'll tell you this, another one. Now, I'm not comparing the two, but, I've been told how great another certain quarterback was. He threw 27 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions in 2013. And the rest of his career, it was real, no offense, it was kind of mediocre. Nick Foles, anybody? You can't go off of one sample size to determine an entire career. Because another thing, especially when it comes to Jordan Love, I know he threw the 3 picks in that game. That game was not that freaking bad. The Eagles' offense did not play well in that playoff game last year against Green Bay. They scored on their first possession, and they were absolutely stagnant the rest of the day. Outside of Saquon Barkley's few big runs, the Eagles' offense didn't play well in that game. Jordan Love had all the chances in the world to win that football game. And all he did was kept throwing the ball in the Eagles' player's hand.
Yeah. And I feel like Jordan Love has been almost like a knockoff version of Brett Favre. Early.
He's a better quarterback than the name I'm going to mention, but he's in a similar situation to Mitch Trubisky, where the Bears ultimately banked Mitch Trubisky on the year that he had at North Carolina, when he had his one good season at North Carolina. So the Bears are like, this is the next great quarterback. We're going to trade up to number 2 to get him. The Packers banked on Jordan Love based off of his one good year at Utah State. He was viewed as a late second, early third round talent, but because he had that good year at Utah State, he had the good pro day. The Packers said, we want to trade up and get him in the first round to get that 5th-year option.
It's always the thing now with quarterbacks, is that 5th-year option. That's what teams look at now these days. They look at that other year of control, and then that's what they do. And now, like we said also, he doesn't really have the greatest group of weapons. I still don't like the fact that they got rid of Aaron Jones, but I do like Josh Jacobs. Jacobs had a really good first year in Green Bay, so it's not like you get subtracted a lot. I just liked Aaron Jones in Green Bay for a multitude of reasons. I like Josh Jacobs too, but Reed and Dobbs, they were fine. They're banking really on is Matthew Golden being that number one wide receiver. I don't personally know if he is a wide receiver one in the future.
Now, if you look at his mini camp, he's not.
That's what, and well, I didn't have him as one of my top. I didn't have him really in my. He was in my top wide receivers, but there were other wide receivers that I liked more. And I like Golden, but I think he's just going to slot right into that fold where Dobbs and Jalen and Reed are. They're really good, but they're not elite number one. Like they're almost giving him like. I'm trying to think of a really good comparison here.
The perfect comparison is what Packer fans don't want to hear. He's basically a smaller version of MVS. Run as fast as you can run. I'll throw it as far as you can throw it, but the guy has bricks for hands.
I mean, I was trying to be nice, but damn. I was trying to be nice, damn. But again, yeah, exactly. It's just they're in like that mold where like they don't have a true number one. They're just going to have a bunch of really good, maybe number twos on certain teams. Like Dobbs is probably a 3 on every team. I don't think he's probably a 2 on the worst team in the league. He may be the 2 on the Panthers, maybe. But it's Adam Thielen
on the Panthers, probably.
I would not put him.
Adam Thielen.
I'm not putting Dobbs over McMillan. Who are you kidding? But like that's my point though. Like these guys aren't number ones. They're barely number twos, some of them. So and Matthew, I mean if you expect Matthew Golden, even if Matthew Golden does become a number one, rightfully he could. For all we look. I don't care about. I understand. I take more stock in mini camps than I do the combine. The one thing I never take stock in is the combine. I don't care what guys do in shorts and a t-shirt. I care about what guys do on the field against somebody else. For all we know, Matthew Golden may come out in the first month of the season and just tear the roof off the league. I ain't say it's going to happen, but to bank on that in year one, I'm not willing to do that. So. Jordan Love is fine if he's another quarterback. He is fine if he's got a very strong run game. But with that kind of talent, you shouldn't need it because we hear how talented he is. And, the arm talent, all this. Well, I've yet to see it translate for a full season. He's close. He's hit 8 games in each year. He just got to put it all together for about 16 of those.
Well, he may have arm talent, but his decision making is what really kills him.
I don't even think he has that good of arm talent. Like I have to watch every single Packer game every week. I'm living in Wisconsin. I have yet to see really a game where he makes these throws where I'm like, oh, there's the arm talent that everyone is talking about. Like I have not been impressed with his arm talent since he's been drafted. Whatever arm talent they're looking at, it has not translated yet.
Yeah, and I mean he's already 26. I feel like every backup quarterback for Green Bay is like 28 years old when they finally start. But
that's how it is, and that's the one thing that I will give the Packers organization a shit ton of credit for, is they're not like these other organizations that draft a quarterback in round 1 and be like, you need to start day 1. They have no problem sitting that quarterback for 2, even 3 years, being like, no, we drafted you round 1, like. You're going to sit for a little bit. We have this other quarterback under contract for the next 3 years. You're going to sit until his contract is up, and then you will get your chance. They did it with Rodgers. It worked well for 14 years, and then the end of his Packers tenure wasn't great. And then they did it with Jordan Love. They sat him for 3 years. Once Rodgers got to be where Aaron Rodgers is now, they moved on and started Love. And he had, like I said, the 8 good games, and the Packers had very high hopes for him. But he's not Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have that kind of arm strength. He's not Brett Favre. He doesn't have that kind of arm strength and toughness. He's just another guy who's been thrown into arguably the greatest organization when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, you had Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, two of the top 10 quarterbacks in NFL history for 30 years. And now you are chosen to follow Rodgers. Like, unless he's putting up the numbers that Rodgers puts up, he's going to be seen as, not deemed as a failure, but he's going to be just seen as an average quarterback. Because Packers have come to expect the numbers that they got from Favre and Rodgers for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. They've been spoiled.
And I think that's his biggest problem is he's trying to not necessarily live up to Favre and Rodgers, but he's trying to put up the same kind of numbers those two put up. And that's not the quarterback he is. He's never going to be that type of quarterback that can stretch the field with his arm. He's never going to be that type of quarterback that, I'm going to throw the ball into quadruple coverage, but I have a cannon for an arm, so it might go through two defenders, but my receiver's still going to catch it.
Exactly. And, if you look at Love so far through, quote-unquote, 4 years, even though he's only been a starter for 2. He's got an 18-15 career record. He's completing 63.5% of his passes, 60 touchdowns to 25 interceptions. He's got a 95.1 passer rating so far in his career. So, it's not terrible, but again, it's the decision-making. There have been some durability concerns. He has been banged up, so he is sort of a tough SOB. He has played through some of that stuff, but again, and like how Dustin just said about Rodgers. Well, Rodgers had Devontae Adams. Brett Favre had Donald Driver. Where's his version of that? Again, Matthew Golden. I get it, but
they're hoping that it's Matthew Golden. That's what Packers fans are banking on, but I don't know if I see it.
I don't either.
But if Jordan Love can really focus on controlling the turnovers, he's got to make better decisions with the ball. You can't throw for 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Cool, you might win by 3 points, but you can't be doing that. The touchdowns, they're solid for 2023. 32 passing touchdowns. Last year took a dip to 25. He missed 2 games. But it's the interceptions. He's fallen in that same boat. This is where you had your Jalen Hurts criticism for years. Everything else is kind of there, but the decision-making needs to be better.
Yeah, and the difference was, since being in Philly, and that's the reason why I was always critical of it. Jalen Hurts, since being the full-time starter, has already had something that Jordan Love, in my opinion, has not. He's had Devontae Smith. He has A.J. Brown. Which, by the way, since we're using Jalen Hurts, can we please celebrate the fact that FS1 has cut all their morning shows? I don't got a list. No. They cut Joy Taylor's shows no longer around. Craig Carton's show got cut, and so did Emmanuel Acho's. So you know what that means? I don't got to listen to Chase Daniel or freaking James Jones, which now all of a sudden James Jones is a freaking Jalen Hurts defender. Hold on, James. I heard all last year, babe. I get it. As
far as I'm
concerned,
James Jones doesn't exist as an NFL analyst, as far as I'm concerned.
That's me with Chase Daniel, even though he barely exists as an NFL actual
James
player.
Jones always picks the Packers to go undefeated every year. Every year he goes on NFL Network to do the schedule predictions. Packers are going 17-0. Packers are going 16-1. I get that you're a Packer homer, but let's just get freaking real here. They're not going to go 17-0 every single year. It's just not happening.
Man, sure he's not a Cowboys fan?
No. Don't let's not. That's when Michael Irvin hits.
Oh God, yeah, yep. It's their year every year.
Have you ever noticed that there are not many national defenders, television-wise, on the Cowboys until Michael Irvin shows up to their set because they just don't want to listen to him talk and have that vein pop in his head like he always does? Have you ever noticed they're like, all right, look, he's going to annoy the crap out of us. Let's just let him have his moment. They're going to go 8-9. Who cares? Just let him have his moment, please. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Jordan Love, man, I really still have a little bit of faith in the guy, but again, the decision making, like we were saying with Jalen Hurts, and that's what I always got with me with Jalen Hurts, was because he had AJ Brown, he had Devontae Smith. Why are you still turning the football over? And even with some of them, and even like the thing that some of the things with Jalen wasn't even about throw. That's the difference, though. Jalen with me, it really wasn't throwing the ball. It was the pocket awareness where it would be like sitting back there for 12 seconds, like Jalen. Someone eventually is going to come from behind and swat the ball. You need to be aware of that. It's the balls that get batted down at the line of scrimmage. Then somebody had some common sense, Kellen Moore, and said, hey, didn't we just pay this really good running back a lot of money? Let's use him as the focal point of the offense and let everything else just smooth itself out. Personally, that may be what the Packers have to do with Josh Jacobs. Let him be the focal point and let everything else just smooth itself out. They're not terrible on offense. Reed is a talented wide receiver. He's not a 1, but he's talented. Golden is talented at least. Dobbs is talented when he's not getting knocked out in the end zone. And they have some solid tight ends. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're solid. But if I were the Packers early on, adapt to the run. You pay Josh Jacobs a decent amount of money. He was, top 5 last year in the league?
He was number 2, I think, behind Saquon.
Exactly. So, yeah, he was within that region. So just see what happens. That's how good look, if anything the Philadelphia Eagles did for teams last year, they gave you the blueprint that's going to easily, even if you do have like a Patrick Mahomes, you got to run the football to win. You could say, pass all you want. Tell me what kind of league it is. That's fine. Well, the team that passed almost every down last year didn't get over midfield in the Super Bowl until the second half. So tell me how much passing the ball 30, 40, 50 times a game is going to do you. As long as you can run the football, control the clock, and play a strong defense, which is getting harder by the year because soon we're just going to do a coin toss. All right, heads. All right, you get to start first and goal. That's where we're at. I hate to say.
Sorry, I was going to say I will say this, though. Whoever made the NFL schedule this year either hates the Green Bay Packers or they want Jordan Love to prove what he's worth. Because the first 2 games, the Packers get the Lions at home and the Commanders right out the chute.
Whew.
That's 2 difficult games. You want to know what their last 7 games are? Here's the Packers. Here's the Packers' last 7 games: Minnesota at home, at the Lions, the Bears at home, at the Broncos, the Bears in Chicago, the Ravens coming to Green Bay, and then going to Minnesota on Week 18.
Oh my!
That is their final 7 games.
Okay.
And then,
the Packers may be the.
And then you have, like I said, the Lions and the Commanders to open the season. Those 9 games right there are going to ultimately decide how the Packers finish that year. Because if they go 4-5 or 5-4 during that 9-game stretch, they may not make the playoffs.
Well, to be fair, they actually may have a shot against the Commanders because the Commanders are running out a bunch of 35-year-olds. So
yeah, but we know the history. We know the history of the Packers trying to stop a mobile quarterback, though.
That is a fair point. All right, so I was waiting for this comment, and Anthony brings this up now. Dustin, you were saying earlier about how Jordan Love, how the Packers banked on that one good year of college production, and Anthony's saying that you can shine over one good year in college. Look at Cam Newton. I personally don't.
Big difference, though. Cam Newton was the first quarterback of his style to come into the NFL. Nobody knew how to defend Cam Newton when he was drafted. Like you had Michael Vick come into the draft, and he was known for his speed. Like he was not a big guy; he was a fast guy who you knew was going to run, and he had a good arm. Cam Newton was not only a guy with a good arm, he was fast, and he was a giant. Like you had no way to defend Carolina's offense, especially when he had the read option. So yeah, teams banked on that because it was a unicorn at quarterback when he was drafted. Now every draft we have quarterbacks like that, but when he was drafted, he was the first of his kind.
And I'll even go one better because, I think what Anthony's also trying to point out is about college, okay, one guy was a Heisman winner who played in the SEC back when the SEC was loaded. That's the league that wants to knock out mobile quarterbacks. Who does Utah State play back then, or now, or
Montana
whenever?
State.
We're comparing.
They play Hawaii in the whack 'em.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So, and again, what are we talking about? We're talking about a guy in Cam Newton who was a man-child. He was literally he was almost like the equivalent of like when LeBron came into the NBA. He's this big freak of nature that no one knew how to stop. But granted, look what happened. When he started to get hit a little too much, that started to slow down a lot. But still, if we're comparing colleges, one guy went to Utah State. The other guy went to Auburn in the SEC, where everybody wants to knock you out in the SEC.
And Cam Newton was
back then.
Cam Newton was the college version of Dante Culpepper when you look at the size. Because when Dante Culpepper was the Vikings quarterback, he was a 6'4", 266-pound bowling ball that you couldn't bring down when he started to run. Cam Newton was a 6'5", 247-pound quarterback in college. Like, he was the college version of Dante Culpepper because he was most likely, outside of the offensive lineman, the biggest guy on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, if Dante Culpepper 266, you're like, he's in good shape. Because that was Jamarcus Russell. He would have said, holy crap, he finally lost weight. He actually did watch the tape.
Dante Culpepper's a super nice guy, by the way. He's down to 220 now, 230 now. He's like in real good shape now. He looks like if he put on a helmet now, he could probably still sling it.
Oh, wow.
Some of the guys do. They just stay in, like, they're just in a phenomenal shape, even at their ages now. Some guys let it go. Some guys are like, man, I work too hard for this. All right, so basically, I think so Minnesota and Green Bay may not be too far off in terms of some things. Now, yes, Love is a little more NFL established than McCarthy, but in terms of our opinions, it sounds like that I think the Vikings have a more talented roster than the Packers. I think the Packers roster is solid. I think the Vikings. I thought the Vikings had a terrific roster last year, and it's gotten better. I mean, like we said, you have McCarthy. Yeah, we got to see what happens there, of course. I love the Mason acquisition with Aaron Jones. You have Addison. You have Jefferson. You have Hawkinson, who's now probably 100% healthy.
He is finally. Then you added Brian Kelly and Will Fries, both from the Colts. Both are top 3 offensive linemen for their position. You get Christian Darrisaw back, who missed the final 8 weeks of the season with a torn ACL. So now your offensive line is an immediate upgrade. Then you go to the defense by adding Jonathan Allen and London Hargrave. You have Jonathan Allen, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, and potentially London Hargrave that can all give you 10-plus sacks.
Yeah, and I mean, they drafted Dallas Turner last year, who barely didn't play much.
He's going to be getting a lot more reps this year because they plan to use him like they used Danielle Hunter.
It's a wrap. And then into the secondary, still, Harrison Smith still going strong at, how old is he now?
Wow.
Guys,
you got Josh Metellus back there. You have Isaiah Rodgers, who they got from Philly. You got Byron Murphy, who they brought back on an extension. And a move that nobody talks about, which now that he's in the Brian Flores system, Minnesota got Jeff Okudah on a veterans minimum deal. Jeff Okudah was a top 3 pick in the 2020 draft. But he's had injury issues his entire career. If you get him in this Brian Flores system and he actually stays healthy, that is a move that nobody's going to be talking about because Okudah might look like a top 5 pick. Especially if Minnesota's pass rush can do what everyone thinks it's going to do. That's going to have a lot of balls up for grabs and a lot of interceptions are going to be coming from that secondary.
Yeah.
Anthony's got an interesting question. In their prime, who are we picking, Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton? Well, I mean,
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar's still in his prime, so
I would probably take Cam Newton just because he was a more polished passer right away. It took Lamar Jackson a little bit to become a polished passer.
That is true.
Cam Newton threw for 4,500 yards as a rookie. Like, he came into the league and he's like, I'm just going to fling it for 4,500 yards, but guess what? I'm also going to tuck it and run it for 700 yards. Like, Cam Newton came into the NFL as an NFL-ready passer. It took Lamar Jackson 4 years to become an NFL-ready passer.
Yeah. But he is just comparing the primes of the two.
I think Cam Newton – the thing is with Lamar Jackson, though, I think Cam Newton was in his prime right in year one. Because his first 5 years in the NFL were the best 5 years of his career. Like, I think he actually was in his prime right when he hit the NFL because no one knew how to defend him yet. Once people figured out how to defend him, then the numbers started to go downhill versus Lamar Jackson. He was so one-dimensional early on that it took him a little bit to hit his prime.
Also, let's also remember that Cam has also been to a certain game that Lamar has yet to ever get to, and that's the Super Bowl.
Very true.
With a 15-1 Carolina team who really was not that good offensively.
It was their defense that carried him there. Captained by Luke Kuechly.
God, I miss Luke Kuechly. Catching up back up on some other comments. Georgie's in here. What's up, Georgie? Just want to remind us all that the Packers blow. So George has already given his opinion. Anthony also said it's still a Lions division. I need to see how JJ is after the injuries for the Vikings. Fair statement.
See, the NFC North this year, I don't think is anyone's division because you've seen how successful the Lions have been the last 3 years. How much of that was actually Dan Campbell and how much of that was Ben Johnson?
Yeah.
We're going to find out within the first 3 weeks how much of that success on offense was Ben Johnson's success and how much of that is actually the Lions' success.
I mean, losing both coordinators, not even just one.
Well, not only that, the Lions also lost Antoine Randall, who was the Lions wide receiver coach. He followed Ben Johnson to Chicago. Ben Johnson also got 3 other coaches from Detroit's defensive side of the ball to follow him to Chicago. So 5 of Detroit's coaches have followed Ben Johnson to Chicago. So the Lions are going to find out right away how good their staff actually was, or if it's more so the talent that's in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention they lost Glenn to the Jets, and they lost one of their defensive coaches to Mike Vrabel's staff in New England. They've lost a ton. And like I said that as soon as Glenn took the Jets job and Johnson took the job, I didn't even need to see the assistant coaches they lost outside of those two. All I said is, you're going to find out right now how good of a coach Dan Campbell is. We're going to find out real soon how good of a coach he is. Because here's the thing. People like to compare Campbell with Sirianni because they both were hired around the same time. Well, Sirianni's had 2 different sets of coordinators and has been to 2 Super Bowls and has won one of them. So now we got to see really how good of a coach Campbell really is. And I think he is a good coach. I'm not saying the Lions are going to stink, but are they going to come out there?
They're not winning 15. They're not winning 15 games.
Yeah, like is that going to happen again this year, especially in that division? No.
Like, I still given the injuries that the Lions had last year towards the end of the season, I almost wish that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn would still be on Detroit, because I really do think Detroit would have made the Super Bowl had they been healthy on defense. Because up until their defense got hurt, there was no weak spot on that team through 12 weeks. There really wasn't.
All I wish is that the Lions defense was healthy so we could have got the NFC title game we all wanted to see.
And I know you're the Eagle fan, so obviously you wanted to see the Eagles versus the Lions. But I wanted to see the NFC Championship in Detroit. How loud that crowd would have been, how epic that atmosphere would have been. Like, that's the game everyone wanted to see, regardless if the Lions won or lost. That's the game that everybody wanted to see.
Yeah. Anthony asked, early predictions, what coach is on the hot seat?
There's one in the NFC North that's on a hot seat already.
Is that LaFleur?
Yep.
Yeah, I would say LaFleur could definitely be the case.
He's in the final year of his
make
deal.
the case.
And the fact that he has not been given a contract extension with how much success he's had, 4 seasons of winning at least 12 games or more, 4 playoff appearances in his 5 years, with the only year that they didn't make the playoffs was the year they went 9-8 when the Lions knocked them out of the playoffs on the final game of the season. So he's never had a losing season in his 5 years. 4 of the 5 years he's won at least 12 games. But it's the fact that he's 2-4 in the playoffs, which is why he's on the hot seat, because you had the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row in Lambeau Field, and you shit the bed all 3 times.
Yep.
That is true. Mike came in here and said that he thinks the Lions will be up in that same position again this year. I think they will. I think they have a shot, but if we just look at the Lions, like Jared Goff, he had a stellar year last year. They still have that running back duo of Montgomery and Gibbs, which I don't think anybody has a bad thing to say about those guys at all. Their receiver core is still basically the same. Amon-Ra, Williams, Laporta. Defensively, now this is where it gets interesting, because we still, like Dustin said earlier, this wasn't like a bunch of like depth pieces that got hurt last year. Aiden Hutchinson was hurt. Aleem McNeil was hurt.
Alec Anzalone was hurt for 7 or 8 games. Yeah. Matt Campbell was hurt. Derek Barnes was hurt. Terrion Arnold is a rookie. Or Terrion Arnold was a rookie last year, wasn't he? Or it's either, he was hurt for like 9 or 10 games. That is legitimately 6 of your starting 11 guys on defense missed at least 8 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, probably the only big-time playmaker that they didn't lose was Kirby Joseph.
And then they traded for Zadarius Smith because they had no choice, and even Zadarius Smith missed like 2 or 3 games after they traded for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Malcolm Rodriguez, another guy that was one of their players that was out for games last year. He only played 10 games. Like, if that, and still with Aiden Hutchinson, are we sure that that leg is going to respond? Because this is not going to be an easy injury to come back from.
He's taking full contact.
Oh, that's what I hope. Look, I'm not saying that. Look, I ain't a doctor. All I know is that I hope he is, when he's back on the field in a game, he looks the same like he was before he got hurt, because that injury scared them.
It did, and the sad part is, I don't know if you guys remember this, the Lions actually put him on their playoff roster. Because if the Lions would have made the Super Bowl, Hutchinson would have played.
He would have played.
He may not have been 100% when the Super Bowl started, but he would have been at a point where he's like, I'm at 70% right now. If I get 40 snaps, I will make a play.
Short said that as he agreed, as NFL fans, we were robbed of the NFC Championship we wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, there
was
another NFC Championship game that people were talking about, and it was more so the Lions and Packers. Because of the division rivalry, how much the Packers have handled the Lions for the last 25 years. Like, that would have upped that rivalry to a whole new level that probably would have never been able to go back down.
That would have been a great game to watch.
And the same thing with the Packers and Vikings, because a lot of people thought if Minnesota would have beat the Rams, I don't think anyone thought the Vikings were going to lose 3 games in a row to the Lions.
Nope.
So if the Vikings end up beating the Lions, and it ended up being a Vikings-Packers NFC Championship game, that would have been epic.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
There's so many scenarios with the NFC title game last year. And again, even if it was Philly-Detroit, it would have had to have been Detroit because those were the top 2 seeds. And I think that would have been sick. Which now only leaves one team we really haven't talked about, and that would be the Chicago Bears. And this is probably the team that has done, in my opinion, the most improving almost any NFL team this offseason. I mean, you get Ben Johnson.
You get Dennis Allen as your defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Dennis Allen is your defensive coordinator. I was just going to get because people. I was like, I don't even care. I forget, Dustin. I'm sure because of your work, you know who is their offensive coordinator. Even though it's
Declan Doyle, who was Denver Broncos tight end coach last year, but he was basically Sean Payton's right hand man in the offense. So basically, he worked under Sean Payton the last 2 years as the co-offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so and in fairness, I just view it as it's going to be Ben Johnson doing most of the play calling as it is anyway. So even though I'm not saying Doyle's going to be a freaking like.
Put it into perspective though, Declan Doyle is 28 years old.
Wow,
oh my God!
So that's how much belief Ben Johnson has in Declan Doyle. He's 28 years old. He's been an assistant in the NFL for 4 years.
My God,
that's crazy.
Like. So, in terms of NFL talent they've added, I'm just looking down what I know they've added. I know they added
Drew Dahlman, Joe Tooney. Yep. That's their interior offensive line that they just gave $80 million to.
And rightfully so, because man, did it needs some upgrades.
It definitely did.
Then they got Grady Jarrett, who I think is going to play with a chip on his shoulder this year on the defense. They got the pass rusher from the Colts, who I always forget his name, but it's like Obi Asamura or whatever his name is.
I know who you're talking about.
They added him, and he's going to have the potential to get double-digit sacks playing alongside Montez Sweat. You still got Jalen Johnson. You still got Kyler Gordon. You still got Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard. So your secondary is one of the best secondaries. And now the Bears are flying in Stephon Gilmore tomorrow to work out. So there's a chance that the Bears could sign Stephon Gilmore as a veteran presence for the defensive backs room.
It's not a bad, and Gilmore's still playing at a decently high level for his age.
Definitely is.
Added Luther Burden as a steal in the draft. Brought in Alamadeus Zaccheaus. You brought in Devin Duvernay, Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze. Still have DeAndre Swift at running back, which they might add another one when it looks like it's going to be Jamal Williams, who was with Ben Johnson in Detroit when Jamal Williams set the franchise record for touchdowns.
Yep, the unstoppable goal line machine.
I still love the Kyle Monangai pick, even though it was later on in the draft. I still like the kid a lot.
Ozzie Trapillo, who's going to be a starting left tackle, he was their second-round pick.
I thought they took somebody.
Yeah, Ozzie Trapillo was their second-round pick. He'll be their starting left tackle. And then they got Ruben Hippolyte, who was their third-round pick. He's going to be their starting number 3 linebacker.
Mike going bold. Mike saying Bears will be first.
I have the Bears and the Lions both going 11-6. And I have the Packers and Vikings both going 10-7.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any bad teams in this division, but I don't see anyone having a better season than the Bears or Lions. It's going to be very close. I think one team will. I think they'll dominate it and make their statement more. I can't even say which one I predict at this point, though.
Let's see what the Bears schedule. So I think most of the Bears schedule, all their hard teams, I believe, are in Chicago. I believe. So yeah, the Bears have to go to Philly, Baltimore, and Washington this year, but then they get the Lions, Packers, Vikings, Cowboys, Giants, Saints, Browns, and Steelers at home. Theoretically, they could run the table at home.
It's possible.
Yeah.
That's 8 wins, and then if they go 3-5 on the road, you're sitting at 11-5, and then 11-6, whatever. Like, if they take care of business at home, they can theoretically put themselves in the driver's seat in the NFC North.
I think it's easily doable. I think the Bears are just that. They've improved that much in an off season. And just alone, Like, take out even with drafting Luther Bird. They already had a good receiving core. Just the fact that they got Ben Johnson and those offensive linemen alone, I thought that puts them over the top. Because I know we like to say about, who had the better rookie year, Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. I thought Caleb was fine last year. It's just the fact that he had to run for his life every other play.
1 interception his last 11 games.
Yeah, that's the thing. He wasn't bad in terms. He didn't turn the football over. Yeah. He didn't make a lot of really big mental mistakes. The only biggest mistake, I think, and I don't even blame it on him, was that debacle in Detroit with the clock situation. But I blame that more on freaking Eberflus and his.
Oh, that's why Eberflus couldn't have a job the week after.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt Eberflus, man, I don't know what in the world they were thinking with that, but they made up for it. They got Ben Johnson. That's all I care about.
And Eberflus is in Dallas now, so.
Oh, we'll take care of him.
Where all the coaches go to die this year.
By the way, just a fun little confirmation. I have the home run derby on. Do you know who the crowd hype man is for this? Pat McAfee.
Oh, I love Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee.
Is he in the side quest era of his life? Kind of like Snoop Dogg, just doing everything.
Essentially. Well, he's probably going to have to wrestle again. WWE's got 3 guys hurt again.
Oh, my God. We're going to see him in the world title match.
No, it was...
it was just hating on Pat McAfee. I love Pat McAfee.
I can confirm that Seth Rollins is out 5 months with another knee injury.
That's rough. Man.
He hurt his knee at... It happened at Saturday night's main event. So.
Oh, it's like they have to push Braun Breaker to the top.
Well, it's all right. Adam Cole may have to retire because he. Did you see that clip? Did you see the clip where he got power bombed and the back of his head hit the apron? Well, they let him wrestle 6 matches after that.
6 matches.
Well, he's had at least 6 matches since that happened. So.
Oh man.
I feel like ever since he left NXT WWE, Adam Cole has just been cursed with injuries. But all right, well, see, so since we've been on the NFC North here for a little bit, close to an hour here, I know Dustin's kind of rang his off as we've gone on. Why don't we all just go around the horn real quick and give some division predictions here? We'll just round them off real fast. So, who wants to go first?
Just the NFC North, or?
Yeah, we're doing the NFC North. That's the division we talked about.
I still go Lions 1. The gap is not what it was last year in terms of the overall talent level and whatnot, but I still go the Lions. I think are still the team to beat in the NFC North. I'm going Bears 2, Vikings 3, Packers 4.
I've got everything the same except that I'm going to switch the Lions and Bears.
Wow.
Like I said, I love me some I love Jaden Daniels in Washington, but I'm still high on Caleb Williams. That talent level was there. You saw it at USC. You saw it last year, even with all the crap he went through. All these additions. Yes, I know there's a lot of moving parts. Ben Johnson, I think, is going to be a great coach. Dennis Allen is a good defensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach, but he's a good defensive coordinator. That's why Sean Payton had him around all them years.
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger addition than Ben Johnson, actually, is having that guy that has, 7 years of head coach experience going back to when he was with the Raiders. Basically, Ben Johnson is going to run the offense, and he's not going to touch the defense. Dennis Allen's going to run the defense.
Yeah, and that is personally, I think that's a big reason, just going back to Philly again, what helped Sirianni last year. He went from the year before where he had Brian Johnson, who was a rookie OC. No, we don't want to talk about it. And Sean Desai, who had some experience. But then you go to Kellen Moore, who was he ever a head coach? No, up until before this year, of course. But he had been in the NFL forever as an offensive coordinator. Vic Fangio's got how many decades of freaking coaching experience?
Well, that's
exactly
what you're saying too. Is exactly why I think people are overlooking Minnesota with JJ McCarthy, is because Kevin O'Connell is the coach of the offense. He runs the offense. That's what he does. He doesn't do a damn thing on defense. Brian Flores runs that defense, which allows Kevin O'Connell more time to develop McCarthy. It allowed Kevin O'Connell more time to put Sam Darnold in the best position to succeed. It allowed Kevin O'Connell more time to tailor his offense around Kirk Cousins. And then when Kirk Cousins got hurt, it allowed him more time to tailor the offense around Josh Dobbs. Having that defensive coordinator that you not only trust to call the plays, but having that defensive coordinator that is basically the head coach of your defense takes one massive thing off of your plate that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, and we saw it. We witnessed it last year. Because even with Jonathan Gannon being here, I still know Sirianni probably sat there and said, we got like 119 sacks this year. Why do we have some of the worst coverages in the league still? I got Darius Slay and James Bradbury playing at all pro levels, and this idiot's got them playing 12 yards off their man every play. What are we doing? He's dropping Hassan Reddick in the coverage. He's got 17 and a half sacks. Oh, my God.
Sam, too far.
I was waiting to push the right button for you, Ty, but I was... But, yeah, so my final one, I'm going Bears, Lions, Vikings, Packers.
For me, I'm going Lions, and I'm going Bears, and I'm going with the Vikings and the Packers. I think the Lions and Bears gap is one game, and I think the gap between the Bears and the Vikings will be 2 or 3 games, depending on their schedules. And I think the Packers may finish 8 or 9 wins.
I think almost all these teams' floors are 9 wins.
Yeah.
Now, their ceilings could be whatever you want, but I swear, like, if someone came in this year and said, oh, one of these teams is only going to win 5 games, I'm laughing you off the frick out of the building, because that's just impossible. But all right, so we got through the NFC North. It took an hour and 3 minutes. Not surprised whatsoever. I was saving that division strictly for hopefully a week that Dustin was with us because of how many ties. Dustin, please explain this again to us. All your ties here with this division. Explain this to us on camera. I need to hear this again.
Live in Wisconsin. Cover the Bears. Cover the Bears. And my favorite team is the Vikings. So, yes.
So all we have to do
all we
need to do, just got to get you something with Detroit and we're good. Hey, speaking of Detroit, look who's here. What's up, Zolt? Zolt's going Lions, Vikings, tiebreaker, Packers, and Bears. Bears are in the show me territory. Oh, my gosh. I don't hate it. Zolt's always got good points with that, so I don't hate it.
Yeah, they're the team that made the most moves. Now, put it all together. Let me see that on the field.
Yeah, and that could be like that. Yeah, exactly. It all has to translate on the field. We know how that can go sometimes.
Same thing with McCarthy.
Yeah, you got to see it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also make the case, I know they still have a lot of their guys from last year, but a new OC, Detroit, we'll see how that looks. It's going to be a very interesting time.
The only thing that gives me a ton of confidence in McCarthy, apart from like Michigan, the style they played and who he coached or who was his coach, was when Jefferson's been working with him pretty much since McCarthy's been on full contact. Like they've been going to each other's houses for like the last 3 months just working together. Jefferson came out and flat out said he throws a more catchable ball than Joe Burrow did in college.
I heard that from a lot of Giants wide receivers too when asked about the difference between Daniel Jones to Russell Wilson.
But I'm just saying though, like you look at the numbers that Jefferson put up with Joe Burrow in college.
Oh yeah, no, I totally believe it.
McCarthy throws a more catchable ball than that. Jefferson's in line to have a big year, and so is Addison, and so is Hawkinson. And Rondale Moore, who I always forget Minnesota signed to a 1-year deal.
Yeah. I would just like to point out that I'm watching the Home Run Derby, and James Wood is a very tall SOB.
6'9".
Dude, like, 6'9's being generous. I think I'm watching a 7'4" dude just smack baseballs in Atlanta. Which you know what that means, right? He's going to make a great player on a new team one day because the Nationals love getting rid of their left-handed power hitter.
I got a good question. If there's a 7-footer in baseball, where's his strike zone?
Same as everybody else. Chest to thighs.
It's got to be awkward for pitchers.
Yeah, when you're throwing at his chest and he still smacks the ball over to the center field wall. All right, so moving on now. I mean, I do have one little bit of NBA stuff that we could discuss real fast, and that's the fact that the Thunder eclipsed exactly what they were supposed to do. They win the NBA title, and then they do exactly what we said about 2 weeks ago. They locked up Shea, they locked up Chet, and they locked up Jalen Williams. Which, in the NBA, that's how you're going to have to do it now. Pieces are going to interchange. Role players are going to move on. As long as you got those three there, I think Oklahoma City has a shot at winning a couple more chips. I'd say they're going to go on like a three-peat nut show, but they got a chance to string off a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And real quickly, just to get off of, real quick before we bounce completely off the NFL, Zolt saying that the Vikings have a ton of talent. It would be no shock if they took the division. The Lions' schedule is horrible.
Wait, did he say the Lions? Did he say the Lions' schedule is horrible? See, I don't understand people's logic in that, and this is why I never look at the NFL strength of schedule because it's complete bullshit to me. Does anybody realize the NFC North plays the exact same schedule besides 3 games? So if you're going to say the Lions schedule is horrible, then the Vikings schedule is horrible, then the Packers schedule is horrible, then the Bears schedule is horrible. Because everybody in the NFC North plays the AFC North this year. Everybody in the NFC North plays the NFC East this year. Then they play their own division. They only have 3 games that are different. They play the exact same schedule minus 3 teams. So that's why whenever I see like these strength of schedules and it has like the Lions have the 3rd hardest strength of schedule and the Bears have like the 28th easiest, I'm like, how is that possible when you play the same schedule? Like those 3 games in between can't make you go from a top 5 strength of schedule to like a bottom 5.
I guess it would factor in a little bit.
It would, but it's not going to be that much of a difference. Like,
yeah, it would depend on a per team basis. Teams that do tend to perform better at home,
but they don't go off of that. Though. They always go based off of your winning percentage from the year before.
Yeah.
So if you're playing the same exact teams minus 3, your difference in strength of schedule is not going to be that hard, not that far apart. So that's why, like last year, the Vikings had the 7th hardest schedule, and the Packers were like 26th hardest. I'm like, how? You play literally the exact same schedule besides 3 games. That has nothing to do with strength of schedule. Strength of schedule is based off of the team's winning percentage from the year before. That's how they base the strength of schedule. It has nothing to do where the game is being played. That's why you always look at the strength of schedule is like a 586 winning percentage. How do you get that winning percentage? Is based off of the average of every team you played the year before.
Can somebody please answer me if I just cut out at all?
Not there.
All right, cool. Because I literally just had my power short on me.
Oh, no.
Okay, we're going to move this along to the final segment because I only have one other segment, and I really don't feel like having my show cut because my power goes out. So, I don't know. Now, Justin, I texted you about this. Tyler, you're not the baseball guy here, so I did put this together. Justin, if you want to... I decided to end the show tonight since we are at the MLB All-Star break, which, by the way, the fact that they call it the mid-season point is a joke because we played 96 games. And the midway point's at 81, so I don't understand how we're at the midway point. We're actually past the midway point. I decided to go through and give my top 10 power rankings for the first half of the season. With Tyler, would you like to say it before I start or after I start?
Well, say it doesn't matter the sport. I know your power rankings are going to suck, but I'll be here to judge them after anyways.
All right. So here are my top 10 first half teams' power rankings for Major League Baseball.
They going 1 to 10.
Starting at number 10.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll go from 10 to 1. You save the best for last. Come on now. We can't go number 1. It's too easy. At number 10, I have the New York Mets. The Mets are number 10 because strictly the fact that the team at number 9 is, I'm just going to go right off it because they kind of coexist. Number 9, I have the Philadelphia Phillies. The reason these teams are 9 and 10 because neither of these teams want to take the NL East from the other.
Fair point.
The Phillies could be up by 2 games, and the Mets are up by a game 3 days later. The Mets have no pitching. The Phillies have no bullpen. These teams continue just to show how... Now, the Mets had a rough start. They've actually played pretty well since. Soto's gotten off to a little bit of a decent little hot streak lately. Lindor's played well. He's the all-star starter at shortstop, even though I can make the case that was a terrible idea. But Pete Alonso's having a great year. If the Mets can just get their starting pitching healthy-ish, which gets Sean Manaea back and get those guys healthy, they're in a pretty good spot.
They still have the number one. They still have the number 1 starter ERA in baseball, despite all that stuff. So their pitching's been fine in terms of the starters. It's been the bullpen.
Everything. Yeah. It's just the problem is they don't really have a lot of starters that was like they don't have a Zach Wheeler. Funny enough, they did, but that was years ago. They don't have guys that go deep into games. They have guys that can give you 6, but you don't see them going much deeper than that. There are a lot of, but that's how they were last year when they had Manaea, Quintana. These guys were going 5-6 innings, but the bullpen was just that bad that it blew the game. So their bullpen, just like the Phillies, the Phillies have the best rotation in baseball. I don't care. You can debate me on it. I don't care. You are not going into a postseason series and having an advantage over Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. And then you're going to have either a healthy Aaron Nola or Jesus Luzardo. It's going to be really hard for teams to go against that.
It would be, but if I've got the Brewers in the best of 5, I'm scared shitless with Peralta, Jacob Mezarowski, and Brandon Woodruff as my top 3.
I was scared of the Brewers every year until last year when they freaking got hosed by the Mets.
Mezarowski is a dog, and he is going
Mezarowski's
to be a problem for a long freaking time.
Well, that until the Brewers have to pay him, then they'll trade him.
The Brewers are about to sign him to a 10-year, $130 million deal.
Yeah, like they did with Jackson Churio. Just pay him now.
Yeah, they're about to lock him up long term because they know the risk of not locking him up now.
Well, yeah, because it's like either give him $130 million now or give him $300 million 6-7 years down the road.
Yep.
Why do that? That's how these teams are going to start getting ahead of these ages. They're going to start signing these kids before they even touch the big league field, so they don't have to do it. Like Churio's under contract for 9 more years?
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, I have the Mets at 10, Phillies at 9. I have the Yankees at 8. I think they've been fine. The injuries concern me. Garrett Cole's out for the year. Clark Schmidt's out for the year. Luis Gil still isn't back. I'm sure they're hoping at some point in the second half they get him. Fried's been good. Jalen Williams in the back end of their bullpen has not. Now, their two offensive additions have been solid. Goldie's hitting like 290. Belly's hitting like 280. I'm sure. Seeing guys like, as a Cubs guy, Dustin, you see him still having a productive year, even though moving on from him with the Cubs was still a good idea. You know, they got a good player. The Yankees got a good player. So, if it's not Aaron Judge, what is it? That's the problem I have with them now. Because as good, I think Belly and Goldie have been good. They are not the player of caliber of Juan Soto. They're good players. But
together they can equal what Juan Soto produces, but not by themselves.
Exactly. And Goldie, I know he's still hitting 290, but he was also hitting like 340 about a month ago. So I'm hoping that being 37, I'm hoping the trajectory doesn't start going down for Goldie. I love Paul Goldschmidt. It's one of my favorite players in baseball. Mm-hmm. But they got a third base issue. I'm still not sold on Volpe at shortstop. I'm still waiting to see it. I like Chisholm, though. I think that ballpark suits his play style. The dude's going to end up. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Isn't he in tonight's Derby?
He might be. Yeah, I think he is.
I'm pretty sure he got invited to it. So
he shouldn't be, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I did. Don't get me started with the home run derby and the All-Star break. We'll get to that. We'll get that on a day where I'm not concerned about the weather outside.
There should be 2 permanent participants in the home run derby every single year.
I do agree with that.
Pete Alonso and Kyle Schwarber should be in the home run derby every single year.
Yeah. And that's why Kyle Schwarber needs to be re-signed in the offseason, because it's going to be in Philadelphia next year. At number 7. Oh, I'm about to piss off somebody. I got the Dodgers at 7. They have not played particularly well down the stretch here. They are hammered by injuries, and I mean hammered. Blake Snell out. Sasaki out. They've got so many dudes hurt, and don't get me wrong, they're still playing well. They're still in first place in their division, but eventually those injuries will catch up to them.
Yes,
now, they could get these guys back, but it's just like, but as long as those top 3 guys are in that lineup, Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, they're going to find a way. I just think right now there are some teams I like a little bit better. And that's where I go to my number 6 team is the Milwaukee Brewers. We just said it a minute ago. They got a damn good rotation. Churrio's been good. They just find a way. You know, every year the Brewers get rid of a top-end guy. Remember, they got rid of Corbin Burns. The sky was falling. Don't look like they missed the beat since moving them. They will find players. They're almost like the Rays were all those years. They don't spend the most money. They just develop really good young players, and now they are learning to pay them early. And they're playing really good baseball right now. They're right up there in the Central with the Cubs. So I have them at number 6. At number 5, here we go. I've got the Boston Red Sox.
Why?
Yes, I have don't get me wrong. I know they're 3rd in their division. I get it. But right now, they are playing like one of the 5 best teams in baseball. And I have the Yankees, to me, are still kind of teetering. They're not too far behind the Yankees. And since the Devers trade, Alex Cora has got that team playing good baseball. The young players are playing well. Their starting rotation, Crochet has been exactly what they expected. Brian Bayo is giving them really good innings. Lucas Giolito is giving them really good innings over the past few weeks. So I think the Red Sox, they have a chance to surpass the Yankees right now because they're playing that good. They've run off 10 straight to end the break when they were literally dead in the water, quote unquote, since they traded their face of their franchise. Which Devers never really was.
Giolito will be gone in 2 weeks.
They don't sound like they're selling.
They're not going to have a choice with Giolito. He's having a bounce back year. He's on a 1-year deal. You risk losing him for nothing, or you sell him high where you can right now to help your team win. Giolito will be gone at the deadline.
Yeah, you still got to see what happens with guys like Duran and Chapman, too. Both other guys who could be going as well. So, but still, man, they're playing like one of the best teams in baseball right now. And I got to respect that. Since after all this crap that went down with Devers and them, and I still think they have a shot at this AL East. This AL East is ridiculous right now. Yes, Anthony, we did. No, I don't want to talk about it. It's the Cleveland Browns. Why are we not surprised?
Yeah, Anthony, short comment. He's cooked.
At number 4, I have the team who right now is leading that division in the Toronto Blue Jays. Look, nobody knew what we're going to expect when the Blue Jays broke camp this year. You know, Bo Bichette was coming off a down year. Vladdy didn't know what was going on with him and the contract. They've gotten all that stuff figured out. Their rotation's been solid. Their bullpen's been better. They're hitting the ball well. And they're in first place in the AL East when no one really expected them to be in this situation. Sure, Springer's having a really good year. I got the Blue Jays at number 4. And now here comes my top 3. At number 3, I have the Houston Astros. Hear me out here.
No,
all the stuff that... Because just think of this, right? Kyle Tucker, gone. Alex Bregman, gone. Yordan Alvarez, been on the IL. This team is still, after all this turnover, just for winning the World Series 3 years ago, all this turnover, all the guys that have come and gone, and they're still first place in their damn division. Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown are leading their rotation ridiculously. Their bullpen is still really good. Isaac Paredes, who was one of the big pieces in the Tucker trade, has been good. Altuve, who's now playing the outfield, has been good. Christian Walker plays a very good first base. They just find ways, man. And their bullpen is still elite. I don't think many of their guys have an ERA under 2 or over 2. So I have the Astros sitting at number 3. At number 2, I got the Chicago Cubs. Look, the Cubs over the past couple years before this year, I really enjoyed their offseason. You know, I kept saying they were adding good players. Belly a couple years ago, Dansby, Jameson Tyone. They were adding some really solid players. But you're just sitting there like, when's the big one going to come? Is there going to be able to be enough there to attract that big name player? Well, Kyle Tucker's pretty damn good last time I checked, and he has been very good for the Cubs so far in his first year there.
He's not even the best player in the damn team.
I know. I was getting to that because the best player on the team plays next to him.
I'm not even going to say that.
Where are you going with this?
Seiya Suzuki is number 2 in Major League Baseball in RBIs. Seiya Suzuki has 25 home runs and was somehow left out of the All-Star game because people forget he exists.
Can we just agree that the Cubs have the best outfield in baseball?
He's not even an outfielder. He's a DH.
I know.
Ian Hampson left.
Even still, though, it's still one of the best outfields in baseball with Kyle Tucker and Pete Crow Armstrong.
Then you got Michael Busch, who's number 2 in Major League Baseball in OPS since May 1st at first base.
And you're still – and what about what Carson Kelly's giving them behind the plate? And, again, the one thing you want to be in baseball, you got to be strong up the middle, right? You got PCA in center, and you got Nico and Dansby up the middle. Like, it's ridiculous. And this is a team that's been out without some of their best pitching. Steele, out for the year. Assad, out for the year. And they're still finding ways. Tayo was pitching well, then didn't he just get dinged up like last week?
He's out for like 8 weeks.
Oh, good Lord. Yes, the starting pitch will be on the shopping list.
Shota Imanaga just got back. He's got his ERA is 2.63. But how about Matthew Boyd? A 34-year-old injury-prone starter who the Cubs gave basically a 2-year flyer to, and all he's done is go 10-3 with a 2.3 ERA.
And he's throwing like almost a full 2 miles an hour faster than he did last year. Now, granted, last year he was just coming off of Tommy John surgery, but still, man. Exactly. And like we said, Tayo was good till he got hurt. Now, unfortunately, he's going to be out for a bit. Ben Brown has been in the rotation. He's been very
he's in the minors. He can stay there.
Yeah, right. So they're probably going to be looking for some pitching around the trade deadline, but still, even with the lack of it, they are still just playing so well. I mean, and guys like in their bullpen, like Drew Pomeranz, 0.70 ERA, Ryan Presley, 3.28 ERA.
Ryan
Like they
Frazier, 1.64. The new closer, Daniel Palencia, 1.58.
And what about what Colin Ray's given them as a starter? I mean, he's given them at least something.
And then Chris Flexen. Chris Flexen had a .51 ERA in the bullpen until he had to move to the rotation basically to fill in for Jamison Tyone. But in 23 games out of the bullpen, Flexen had a .51 ERA.
That's ridiculous.
And Caleb Thielbar is at like 1.79 also.
Dustin, help me out. I'm a Phillies fan. What's it feel like to have a bullpen with all these guys with low ERAs? My guy, Jordan Romano's ERA is still in the 25th century, and that hasn't even happened yet.
Honestly, this is the first time that the Cubs can honestly say they have a good bullpen in a long time, because their bullpen was ranked 27th in ERA last year. They blew 41 games last year after the 8th inning, which is why they missed the playoffs by 2 games, because you blow 41 saves, that ain't going to help you. Since May 1st, the Cubs' bullpen ERA is at 2.26, like across the board, top down.
The Cubs have like 5 good relievers. I got like 2.
Like Drew Pomeranz hasn't pitched in the major league since 2021, and he's got a .68 ERA right now.
Like that's ridiculous.
Chris Flexen has never pitched out of the bullpen before, and he was .51 in his 23 games out of the bullpen. Brad Keller, a guy for the Royals who couldn't cut it as a starter. They put him in the bullpen. His ERA is at 3.2 right now, but from May 1st until this past week, his ERA was a 1.96.
I forgot Brad Keller was on the Cubs. Oh, my gosh.
And you got Palencia throwing 103 with his ERA in the 1.5s.
And then you got PCA, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki just wreaking havoc on opposing pitching.
PCA is the only player in Major League history to have 25 home runs, 25 stolen bases, and 70 RBIs at the All-Star break.
And he was the prospect thrown in the Javi Baez trade.
And here's a question I have for you before you go to your number one team, which I think everyone knows what it is at this point.
Yeah, it's Washington Nationals.
If the season ended today, would you give the MVP to Shohei or PCA?
Whoever just yelled Shohei, I heard that.
We got the answer.
We got the man.
I would solely give it to PCA because he's doing stuff that has never been done before.
I would too, man. Like Shohei, we're gonna end up running into this thing called voter fatigue, and like we get it, man. The guy's great. He's already got it all. He's got an MVP. He's got a World Series. PCA, what he's doing for the Cubs, no offense to the Cubs, but less payroll talent than the Dodgers. What they're doing is sensational right now. And they still got and they're like, even with the Dodgers, as bad as the Dodgers have been hit with injuries, they're still 5 games up on the closest team, the Padres and the Giants. The Cubs are still going toe-to-toe with the Brewers, who are only, like a game or 2 out?
But the Cubs have the 3rd easiest schedule in Major League Baseball the rest of the way.
That'll help. And even, I know they're only a few games over, but even the Cardinals have played some decent ball this year from time to time. They're still going to be selling at the deadline, but
they might not be.
You never know.
They're only 2 games out of that final wild card spot. That's why they are kind of in that position where they can't afford to sell right now.
That's why I'm saying. Like, none of these teams want to sell anymore because of that wild card situation. Now you have a chance to freaking get in, and after we saw the Phillies do in 2022, you get in, anything can happen.
Right.
And then Dustin kind of pointed out earlier, my obvious number one team is the Detroit Tigers. Young team that built off a strong second half last year, have done nothing but get better throughout the first half of this year, dominating the American League. Tarek Skubal is still one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. He probably is the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. Look, this is coming from somebody who, I got Zach Wheeler on my team, and I'm not even saying that Zach Wheeler is the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. Paul Skeens, if he was a Dodger, he would be the best pitcher in baseball, but he's a Pirate and he has to suffer until he gets traded. So, Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball. It's a shame that they lost Jackson Jobe to Tommy John surgery because he was actually starting to pitch pretty well. Casey Mize has been really good for them. Reese Olson was banged up, but he's now back, and hopefully they can get him back up to his up to par in the second half. And then Jack Flaherty, he's been off and on this year. I've had some outings where I've seen him pitch really well. Then I've seen games where he's given up 6 to 7 earned runs. So their bullpen has been really good. Their offense has been good. They're just full of young, promising players. Torkelson's been playing pretty well this year. Riley Green is one of the most underrated players in baseball. They've got great role players in Kerry Carpenter, Zach McKinstry. Gleyber Torres has had a really strong year for them. The Tigers are the best team in baseball right now. And that is my top 10 power rankings for the first half of the year, which will be concluded by Tyler's favorite line as is, which, Tyler, what is it?
Sam, your power rankings sucked. But not as much as your
allow me to educate you on baseball power rankings.
Let's hear it. I'm ready. This is going to be great.
So number 10, I have the Yankees. And I base my power rankings on not just the body of work, but where the team is situated right now. And the bottom line is the Yankees are injury riddled. They are floundering right now. And they are not playing the brand of baseball that they expected to play. Are they a good team? Definitely. But when you don't have the health that you want to have, it's hard to win games consistently. So I do have the Yankees at 10. I have the Mets at 9. Kind of a similar position as the Yankees, where the Mets actually got off to a great start. They were the number 1 team in the National League until about the middle of June. And then they forgot how to play baseball for about a month. But they're still hovering kind of – I think they're number 4 seed in the National League right now. They're half game behind the Phillies, so they're still right there. They're in a great position to make a late second half run, so that shouldn't be an issue for them. Number 8, I have the Phillies. They were kind of in the same position as the Mets. They got off to a good start, hit the bottom for about 2 weeks, kind of bounced back, and they're kind of where they're situated now. And they're one of the better teams in the National League, and they're going to be one of the better teams in the National League. Number 7, this is going to be one that kind of probably surprises all of you a little bit. Number 7, I do have the Padres. And you look at where the Padres are, they're 52-44. But you got to remember, they've done this without Yu Darvish, who was just activated. Dylan Cease hasn't looked like the Dylan Cease that the Padres have been used to, but he's now had 3 or 4 good starts. Michael King, who they signed to the long-term extension, hasn't pitched well until recently. And now you're starting to see Fernando Tatis and the rest of the offense start to produce. It's going to be San Diego's going to be the one team that I think is going to challenge the Dodgers at the end. I don't think they're going to win that division, but I think they're going to be in a great position to at least keep things close late. 6, I have the Dodgers. And it's mainly because same situation as the Yankees. They are a very injured team right now. They are a team that you expect them to be in first place. They're a team that you expect to win the National League going away. But when Blake Snell is hurt, when Tyler Glasnow, when the first 4 letters of his last name are GLAS, that should tell you all you need because the guy's made of glass. And if you can get 15 starts out of him, you're lucky. If the Dodgers thought Roki Sasaki was going to come in and be an instant starter day one, they were delusional. And then you have Tanner Scott, who's looked like absolute crap this year.
Oh my God!
All the money they spent on him. So like the Dodgers need to make some moves to kind of get back to where they are. Number 5, I actually have the Chicago Cubs. And this is taking nothing away from their record. Yes, they're leading the NL Central at 18 games above 500. They have a 1-game lead over the Brewers. But since May 23rd, so their last 64 games, they're 32-32. So they've been a 500 team for the last 64 games. They're not playing as well as their record shows. I know a lot of that has to do with not having Imanaga for two months, not having Steele, not having Tyone. Like a lot of that has to do with that. But they also had a 23-game stretch where they scored 3 runs or less in 11 of those 23 games. So their offense has been a little bit sluggish lately. And they are going to make moves at the deadline. I think the big move that they're going to make is getting Eugenio Suarez, because they need a guy that can hit left-handed pitchers, because they are the worst team in baseball against left-handed pitching. They cannot hit left-handed pitching worth a lick.
If they add Suarez, they may be my favorite in the National League. They really may.
The deal that's being talked about in Chicago right now is Merrill Kelly and Eugenio Suarez.
That's killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
And then you're going to get a guy like David Bednar in the back of their pen.
Yeah, another guy. Another guy I look out in Pittsburgh could be also Denise Santana. That's the one I've heard the Phillies linked to, which I would not mind.
And then number 4, I have the Astros. Pretty self-explanatory. They were a team that, honestly, through a month and a half, 2 months, you kind of thought that this was going to be the year where the Astros would not only fall from the AL West, but maybe miss the playoffs. Yeah, no. They just said, yeah, we're still going to run the AL West until we decide we don't want to. So now they're kind of back at leading the AL West, and I think they're about to get on a run and run away with it. Number 3 team that I have is the Tigers. And it's not based on their record. It's not based on anything else. Like I said, I base my power rankings on how the team is playing right now. And the Tigers, yes, they're 21 games above 500, but they are in the worst division in baseball. Like they should be 21 games above 500 in that division when everybody else is under 500. My number 2 team is the Blue Jays. They have won 13 of their last 15. They had the 9-game winning streak until the White Sox beat them 2-1. They're getting the Bo Bichette they expected to get, but Vladimir
finally healthy.
Vladimir Guerrero is still not looking like the Vladimir Guerrero when he won the MVP. And yet the team is still in the position they are right now. Like, you have to think at some point Vladimir Guerrero is going to get back to his MVP form. And if he does that, Toronto is going to be one of the toughest teams to beat in the American League. They just are, because you've seen playoff games at the Rogers Center. They're freaking nuts.
Yeah, and like I was saying it when I was doing my rankings, a big reason why they've been able to do this has been the resurgent year we've seen out of George Springer, who's hitting 270 right now.
And my number 1 team in the power rankings right now is the Brewers. They are looking like the 2018 Brewers right now that basically went 33-7 over their final games, or final 40 games. Over the Brewers' last 32 games, they are 26-6. They are doing that with who, outside of Christian Yelich and Jackson Chourio. Can you name anybody on that roster off the top of your head? Unless, like, obviously William Contreras, but can you name anybody else on that roster off the top of your head?
Okay, then you don't get ice
cream. Reese Hopkins, and that's it.
He's hurt. So he's not even on the roster right now.
Yeah, Yelich, Chourio, you have Ortiz, and he hasn't played well at all.
They do this.
You got me.
They do this every single year. They have Sal Frelick. They have Andrew Vaughn, who they designated for assignment. They got him from the White Sox. Andrew Vaughn has 11 RBIs in 5 games with the Brewers. They have Bryce Terang, who's a platinum Gold winner at second base. They have a bullpen that gets rid of Josh Hader. They get rid of Devin Williams. They get rid of all these guys. And now you have Trevor McGill, who's 23 of 24 in saves, making the All-Star game. They have another guy in Abner Uribe, who throws 100 miles an hour with a 2.04 ERA pitching in the 8th inning. You have Brandon Woodruff coming back to your rotation, who's made 2 starts, has yet to allow an earned run in his 2 starts, and has 1 walk and 15 strikeouts in his 2 starts. You have Freddie Peralta.
Boy, he's back.
You have Freddie Peralta at a 2.3. You have Jacob Mezorowski, which enough said with what he's done through 5 starts.
Yep.
Jose Quintana has a 2.42 ERA, and he is their number 5 starter.
I forgot they signed Quintana.
And they still have two prospects in the minors in AAA that can hit triple digits that are probably going to be called up before July that are going to go into the rotation. The Brewers also just made history on Friday. I don't know if you saw this. It was the game that Jacob Mezarowski pitched. If you take Jacob Mezarowski, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, and their other reliever, those four pitchers, they threw a total of 91 fastballs between the four of them throughout the game. The average fastball velocity was 99.74 miles an hour.
This is why the Milwaukee Brewers somehow find a way to always be very good.
With 49 of those 91 pitches, 101 or more.
Please don't make the Phillies play the Brewers.
Which is why I said, like, top to bottom, I do agree that the Phillies might have the best rotation. But getting the Brewers in a 5-game series when you can just trot out Woodruff, Mezarowski, and Peralta scares the shit out of every team in the National League. Because two of your starters that can hit 100 are now going to the bullpen for that 5-game series.
Yeah.
Where you can be like, oh, with the 4th inning, the Brewers are up 1-0. Okay, Mezarowski, you can come out of the pen now and throw the next 4 innings.
Yeah. And it's just with the way baseball is, these bullpens and pitching staffs are managed so differently now, where stuff like that is like the Phillies can even do that. If Aaron Nola comes back healthy, and yes, I know Aaron Nola was not Aaron Nola before he got hurt, but you could put him and Wheeler, and then you could go Sanchez, and then you're going to have Luzardo coming out of your pen throwing almost 100.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to say about the Brewers, they have a package put together right now to get Ronald Acuna. And the Braves are highly considering it.
Yeah, there has been some words going around about Acuna possibly getting moved. The Braves are going to have to do something because that whole core, it doesn't look like they're getting any better, and they're all under contract. So they gotta. They're like the Phillies almost. They got to move something around.
That's why I have the Brewers number 1, because they've just been playing the best baseball of any team in baseball the last month and a half.
I just hate the fact that you mentioned it, Eugenio Suarez with the Cubs, because I honestly thought the Phillies could make some sense.
I mean, well, he makes sense to the Phillies too, but the Cubs are averaging 2.1 runs per game against left-handed pitching and are hitting 176 against lefties.
That sounds like my offense for the past week.
So Eugenio Suarez crushes lefties. And he's another guy that when you're facing a right-handed pitcher, he just goes in the middle of your lineup between PCA and Michael Busch.
Yeah, and the reason I said him for the Phillies, because here's the thing. What's the Phillies' biggest issues right now? They don't have a quote-unquote stereotypical cleanup hitter behind Bryce Harper. I like Alec Bohm. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a 6'5" third baseman not have power like Alec Bohm. 20 home runs now is like hitting 10. He is 6'5", and he is as skinny as my freaking pinky. Alec Bohm is the tallest, slenderest third baseman I've ever seen. But it's not just that. The other problem with the Phillies this year has been their outfield has been outside offensively at least. Oh, Dustin, look what you did. You got Mike. Mike just said you got him sold on them now. Oh, let me
see this, and it pains me to say the Brewers are the best team right now because I am a Cubs fan. And, like, I hate the Brewers more than the next person just because you look at the roster, there's no comparing that the Cubs roster is better than the Brewers talent-wise. You look at the players up and down the Cubs roster, Kyle Tucker, PCA, Suzuki, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. Like, top to bottom, the Cubs have a far better roster than the Brewers. But yet, every single year, the Brewers are winning 94 to 95 games somehow.
Yeah.
Whether it's the scouting, whether it's the player development, whether it's just the system that Craig Counsell created, because Craig Counsell's bench coach is now the Brewers manager. So whether it's the system that he created there, the development, all the stuff that went into when he was the manager there for 10 years, the Brewers continue to do what they did when Craig Counsell was there. And it just, like, every year, the Brewers, like this year, the Brewers are predicted to win 75 games. They're already at 56.
They're gonna
like nobody ever believes in the Brewers. Like I was one of them this year that said without Burns and without Woodruff that team was going to struggle to get to 500 because I'm like, you have Freddie Peralta in your rotation and you have a bunch of unknowns. Nobody knew Mazeroski was going to come up. Nobody knew that Quintana was going to pitch as well as he's pitched. And now they're going to win probably 95, 96 games again. Like the way this team is developed, the way the team is run organizationally, it's hard to ignore the success they've had, and it's hard to ignore what they're doing right now. And if they finally have a new owner now, they don't have Antanasio anymore. If they have an owner that is finally willing to spend a little bit, and an owner that is finally willing to go out at the deadline and make the big moves to get rid of the prospects,
they can make a run.
The Brewers are as good, if not better than anybody in baseball.
I agree. And Anthony said he's not talking about his Orioles. They went from one of the top teams projected-wise to a bottom team. That's what they get for not addressing pitching at all. And like you were saying, Dustin, I mean, with the amount of pitching talent that the Brewers have, you easily go flip one or two of those guys for a big-time bat if you wanted to. Like, I'm sure if there is something on the place for Acuna, I mean, those arms are probably... That's where the Braves need arm. The Braves don't have any arm.
And the Brewers would give up. The Brewers would give up DL Hall, who they got part of the Corbin Burns trade last year. They would give up Aaron Ashby, who's got like a 2.86 ERA in AAA right now. Tobias Myers finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting last year. He's in AAA right now in the Brewers. They'd give him to the Braves, and then the Brewers have Chad Patrick, who is probably going to win Rookie of the Year this year for the Brewers as a right-handed starter that they would probably give the Braves.
Yeah, most likely. But that is going to conclude our MLB Power Ranking segment. Tyler, are you still with us over there?
Yeah, Dustin's Power Rankings were good.
Look, if you're trying to replace me, just to say it out loud, buddy.
Sam, I've been saying this for years. Your power rankings always and forever will suck.
Yeah, wait to see my top 10 list for the NFL when we get to those parts this summer, buddy. Which we're gonna have to. We might have to start those soon, actually. Like we're already in the middle of July. We're not far away from the season, and then we jump into our standard weekly NFL coverage. So,
It's counting down.
But anywho. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to talk about or say before these thunderstorms completely topple my house?
Go Birds.
Of course you say Go Birds.
Super Bowl year again.
Oh God, please don't.
Let me not turn into a Cowboys fan. Hold on. Let me remain
humble yourself.
Composed.
Yes. Humble yourself.
I'm an Eagles fan. I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Well, yeah, you'll need to say that. Well, anyway, guys, thank you all for joining us tonight. Dustin, once again, thank you for coming on with us tonight, brother. Always enjoy having you on with us. Covered a lot tonight. Got the NFC North wrapped up. I was so happy that we were able to have Dustin on with us for this episode because, again, he's got more ties to the NFC North than what I have too many.
I got more ties to the NFC North than Donald Trump has in his closet.
Okay, there we go.
Bang! Came for his wardrobe.
Just to rack off these comments real quick, Carol, have yourself a great week. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week, Carol.
And what did Anthony say? He said that's what happens when you live in New Jersey. Yeah, man, Anthony, I get everything in Jersey. I get thunderstorms. I get everything.
There's a reason why the minor league team is called the Trenton Thunder.
Yep.
Yeah, and to correct that, it's now the MLB Draft League team because the Yankees screwed them over.
I know. Well, that's why they were called that.
I won't lie, though. I did go up to Somerset, I think, 2 summers ago to check out where they moved. You could tell why they did. But anyway, guys, we're going to get up on out of here. Once again, a big thank you to Dustin Reese for coming on with us tonight and talking some football, some baseball. And we'll be back next week. We don't really know what we have in store next week. We may start our top 10 list for all I know because I have no idea how many top 10 lists we're going to have. So, guys, Have a safe rest of your week. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Thank you, everybody, for commenting in with us throughout the show. And we will see you guys next time. So, for Justin Reese, Tyler Adams, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.